Okay, Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakak Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And salutation you Akim out there that has been pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. We're approaching the end of the year of 2021. And 2021 was a year of mandates and wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and famine and things that was bringing forth prophecy. So now here we have it. We're approaching the last 2 weeks of 2021, the year of hastening of the coming of our Lord Yahweh Shah. So now we're approaching the year 2022. And Esau, the so-called white man, is going to start revving things up, man. Or should I say, start putting things in effect. Whereas he's going to come down hard with these mandates and force these people out here to take that jab. And this is all a part of prophecy. You see, what happened in 70 AD, we mentioned 70 AD, but it was from 65 AD up until 74 AD, if I'm not mistaken. All the tribulation and the trials that came upon Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So now we're approaching that time that's going to come again, whereas Esau, the so-called white man, is going to come in like a flood, just like they did in the time of 70 AD, during the time of the ancient Roman Empire. Everything is reincarnated, man. And we be telling you these things. What happened back then is going to happen again, but on a larger scale. So you people continue to indulge yourselves in these pagan festivals. Because after these pagan festivals, Esau, the so-called white man, is going to show his horns, man. While you indulging yourself in these pagan festivals, thinking that everything is all good. Now, usually after Thanksgiving, the next day is Black Friday. And I didn't see not one video of people being trampled, everybody fighting for different products. I didn't see that. You know why? Because it's something called hyperinflation and inflation. And the dollar is circling the drain. So therefore, what money people have, they try to hold on to it. So that's why you didn't see the usual stampede of these goddamn gorillas in the Targets, the Walmarts, and wherever they go to get their goods, man, for Black Friday. You didn't see that. But now, I digress. Let me get back to what I was saying. We're approaching the time of straight evil. What's coming down the pike is straight evil, man. Going back to 70 AD, during the time when the Romans besieged Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem is a people before it become a place. It's not a modern day Jerusalem. It's these ghettos, these bahus, and all the rest of the places with Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and Ephraim on down to Issachar dwell, man. And they're going to besiege these neighborhoods, man, and lock it down. And that's going to be martial law. And they're going to come in like a flood. I have a few scriptures, a few precepts Abaratazah Akim out there will be edified. Once again, giving all praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49, and it reads, "The Lord shall bring a nation against thee." Against who? The sons of Israel, man. This is going back during the time, hey, when you want to get deeper, Yahweh Shah was prophesizing what was going to happen to the sons of Israel, and the prophecies that Yahweh Shah was bringing out happened 40 years later, hence 70 AD. And we are here telling you that these days is coming down the pike. Death, destruction, famine, the sword, pestilence. But do Jake hear? They don't hear shit. Only the elect is going to take heed and gather these instructions that we telling them. Take heed, come back into the fold, and be healed, man. But the rest is going to be destroyed. So we're going back to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. "The Lord Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far." And what's that nation? Back in the ancient world, it was the Roman Empire, man. They were speaking Latin. We were speaking Hebrew. We could not understand their language, neither could they understand our language. So that was a conflict of interest right there. And it reads, "From the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth." Now, the symbol of the Roman Empire, the ancient Roman Empire, was the eagle. The same symbol that the ancient Roman Empire had is the same, which is the eagle, is the same symbol that the American government upheld as their symbol of, or beacon of freedom, or whatever the hell they call it, man. But the eagle is the symbol of the United States government, man. Just like it was the symbol of the ancient Roman Empire. Show you that this is Rome all over, man. And what happened in Rome with the Romans, how they besieged Jerusalem, and during the time of 70 AD is going to happen again. So it reads, back in Deuteronomy 28, verse 49, "The Lord Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the ends of the world, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand," because the ancient Romans were speaking Latin and we spoke Hebrew. So they didn't understand us, and we didn't understand them. We didn't understand them. And that's where the conflict of interest came about, man. Because they was telling us things that we didn't understand. If we were speaking things they didn't understand, so therefore they started slaying. And that was judgment of the Lord, man. That was judgment of the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah, man, upon them wicked ass Israelites, man, that rejected Yahweh Shah, man, when he was on the earth, telling them what was going to come to pass, man. Those that took heed, they fled, they left Jerusalem. Those that were still remaining in Jerusalem, they took heed and they fled to the mountains, man. But the 2/3 that remained, that didn't take heed, they got slaughtered and put to death, man. They got slaughtered and put to death, man. And that's what's going to happen in the times we're living in right now, man. You Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans that are not taking heed to what the prophets, starting with the apostles on down to the prophets, the teachers, the bishops, we are telling you death and destruction is coming, but you're not taking heed, man. You're not taking heed. And the same exact thing that happened in 70 AD Then the time when Yahweh Shah was prophesizing what was going to before Jerusalem, you Negroes, Hispanics, you not, it had nothing to do with the Latin tribes, the northern tribes. It was mainly Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And that was the scattering, man. After that, Jerusalem became a desolate wilderness, man. And it's going to happen again. So it reads, Deuteronomy 28, verse 50, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the persons of the old, nor show favor to the young. And that happened during the time of 70 AD. When them Romans came in, they had no pity on the old. They had no pity on the young. Old hoes was getting put to death. Old jakes was getting put to death. Young babies was getting put to death. And that's going to happen again, man. Do you think these devils are going to have pity on you old hoes, man? And that's the judgment from the Most High Yahweh by Yahweh Shah. You see, you have it whereas these older women, they feel they get a pass because they old hoes now. You was once a young hoe. You're an older woman now, and you somewhat change your ways or slow down because you old and nobody want to deal with you. So you by yourself, or you have a husband, you got your husband. But when you was young, you was raising hell, man, doing what you wanted to do. So now, all that shit you did is going to catch up to you, and that's judgment from the Lord, man. So it reads, back in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 50, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the persons of the old, nor show favor to the young, and he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land. Then in the time of 70 AD, when they besieged Jerusalem, they took everything from us, man. Our cattle. When they besieged Jerusalem, everything was theirs, man. Because that was the time of their rulership, man. The Most High sent the Romans upon you Negroes, you Haitians, and you Benjamites that was dwelling in that land. The Lord sent the Romans upon the southern kingdom, which is you Negroes, Benjamites, and Haitians, man. The Lord did that, man. The Lord sent them Edomites against you, man, because y'all was wicked as fuck, man. And I'm gonna be straight raw. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi was wicked as hell, man. Sacrificing their kids to Molech, doing that which was evil in the eyes of the Most High. That's why these evils came upon us, man. And the same thing that was happening back in the ancient world is happening now, man. All the evils that was happening in the ancient world that you Negroes, too much you Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and even the Latin tribes, man. That's why they got kicked out of the land, man. The Most High cast the Latin tribes out of his sight, man. And then guess what? The same thing befell Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, man, for their wickedness. But this is the ultimate. What happened to Judah, Benjamin, and Levi when the Romans came in and besieged Jerusalem? It was cannibalism going on because they besieged Jerusalem and they built the wall, whereas no one could come in and no one can go out. So therefore, it was cannibalism going on in Jerusalem, and the last stronghold was Masada. And there you have it. But now, fast forward everything to the time we're living in now. The same thing that happened in the ancient world is going to happen again. And that nation is going to come upon you Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. It's going to be these different Gurkha troops, the UN troops that do not speak any English, whether they be Chechen, Russian, Chinese, Japanese. They're not going to speak the American English, man. They're going to speak their respective languages, and guess what? They're going to tell you to do something in their language, and you're not going to understand, and they're going to gun you down like a dog in the streets, man. This is what's coming down the pike, man. Death and destruction. Death and destruction is going to come down the pike. The year of 2022, only the Lord knows the destruction that He has planned for you simple-minded ass, burn-brain Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans that can't get right, man. So it reads, and he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. Verse 52, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down. And that happened during the time of 70 AD, man, where the Romans built the wall and besieged us, man, where nobody could go in and nobody can go out. But you fast forward to the times we live in them, that's martial law, where they lock down the bridges, lock down everything, man, where you can't go in, you can't come out, man. Wherever you at, when they declare martial law, is where you're going to stay. There's going to be a lot of death, a lot of destruction, a lot of women getting raped, famine. Hardship is coming, man. 2022 is going to be the year where Esau, the so-called white man, start showing his horns. And we've been telling you these things, man, week in and week out, on the highways and the byways, in our sit-downs throughout the week, in our personal videos throughout the week, telling you these things. Whether you were here or whether you were forbear, that's on your own account, man. As long as we put these videos out there, what happens, what before you, is on your own account, man. If you take heed, hey, the Lord gonna heal you. But you forbear these the words of the prophets, which we speak in the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, then guess what? The Most High is going to deal with you. You're going to be destroyed. And this is exactly what this is talking about. All the people that was in the ancient world in the time of 70 AD that did not take heed to the words of Yahweh Shah, guess what? They back right here. They back right now. And now, you got the prophets of Yahweh Shah out there. You got the prophets of Yahweh Shah out there and Yahweh's in the byways preaching this word, man. Telling you what's coming down the pike. Them same spirits that was back in the ancient Roman Empire that besieged Jerusalem is the same spirits coming back, man. And the same spirits that fled Jerusalem, that took heed to Yahweh Shah's words, they're going to be taken care of. But here you have it. The same spirits that was out there that didn't take heed, that forsook the words of the Most High, you're going to get put to death, man. By grievous death. And that's how it's going down, man. It says, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 22. Deuteronomy 28, verse 52. Slakia. and he shall besiege thee, to my Esau, in all thy gates, and to thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustedest. Because Masada, they had walls built up. That was the last stronghold of you Negroes during the time of the ancient Roman Empire, man. So guess what? It fell. It says, throughout all thy lands, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy power have given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thy own body, because cannibalism is coming back in a big way. That's also a part of the curses. You think not when these people are besieged in these cities, when Esau, the so-called white man, locked down these bridges, these tunnels, where you can't go in and you can't go out, written in 2nd Esdras, the 15th and the 16th chapters, do you think these people are not going to result of cannibalism? It happened in the ancient world, it's going to happen again, man. There's nothing new under the sun. It is what it is. And they shall, back in Deuteronomy 28, verse 53, and thou shalt eat the fruit of thy own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy power have given thee, in the siege and in the straitness, the position of difficulty, wherewith thy enemies shall besiege thee. Hey, that's coming down the pike again, man. That's coming down the pike. And we are about to witness some shit in 2022. Keep thinking everything is hunky-dory. Keep thinking that everything that the apostle was saying is all bullshit. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get caught up. This is Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 9. This is exactly what these devils are doing. These devils are sharpening their sword. And guess what? They have been given the blessing of the sword, and they're not going to take. You know what? And they have been given the blessing of the sword, and that sword, that blessing and that sword that they have, they're going to utilize it. You better believe it. They're going to utilize it. And Esau is the Lord Yahweh's whipping stick, but on the left-hand side. Psalm 17, verse 13, King David prayed to the Most High Yahweh to deliver him from the wicked, which is thy sword. Who is the wicked? Malachi 1 and 4. Esau, the so-called white man. Who's in charge of this society we living in right now? Job 9:24. The earth is given to the hands of the wicked. Who is running society right now? The so-called white man. So that's letting you know who's in charge, who's running the show. Ultimately, the Lord Yahweh, while Yahweh Shah is running the show, but guess what? He put these devils, these red bastards in charge. So the Lord is dealing with Esau, but on the left-hand side, man. And Esau, the so-called white man, is going to bring forth his sword to destroy. And it reads, Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 9, Son of man, prophesy. And we out there doing the same thing that Ezekiel was doing, prophesizing against the nations, man. And say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, say, a sword is sharpened, and also and it's also furbished. You see, the modern day sword is the gun. And you have Esau out there in these mountains, in these retreats, practicing for the day of martial law, doing all kind of, they got these fake towns set up, and Alex Jones brought this out years ago in 2008, how they had in the mountains of Colorado and in the different mountains, but the video show was in Colorado, and they had these Edomites had pictures of Jakes, pregnant black women, and Jakes like gangbangers, and they was popping up and they was just gunning them down, man. But they was just pictures, man. Practicing for the day of martial law, sharpening their sword to make a sore slaughter. Let's not make no mistakes about this. These devils have been given the blessing of the sword through our forefather Isaac, which is Yahweh Shai, in the reincarnation. Isaac was Yahweh Shai in the reincarnation, if you could receive that. And he has been given the blessing through our forefather Isaac of the sword, man. And these devils is definitely utilizing that blessing, man. They even created instruments that's going to destroy them. They've been given the blessing of the sword. So we can't take this devil down. We can't fight against this devil. So it reads, but guess what? This devil gonna come with a sore slaughter. And I'm reading it right now. Back in Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 9. Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, a sword is sharpened and is furbished. It is even sharpened to make a sore slaughter, and that sore slaughter is gonna come by the way of, martial law, by the way of famine. Because when Esau, the so-called white man, come in like a flood in these neighborhoods, man, they're not gonna have no pity. Just like the ancient Romans, when they besieged Jerusalem, didn't have no pity, man. They pillaged, robbed, raped, murdered, did what they had to do. It's going to happen again, man. It's back in Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 10. It is sharper to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. And it says, all right, slack here. Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 10. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? Because right now, we're in a time where so-called Christmas is about to come to pass, man. And all these jakes out here, they're in the time of mirth. And right behind Christmas is New Year's. So these jakes, they just in La La Land. When I mean jakes, like you Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, on down to you Ishikarites, man, which are the so-called Mexican, the so-called Mexicans, man. You're in La La Land. But you're still going to be brought back to reality, because death and destruction is coming. And I'm reading about it. Ezekiel 21, verse 9, on down to 12, man. So I'm reading. It says, should we then make mirth? It continueth the rod of my son as every tree. Verse 11, and he have given it. Who is he? Yahweh, the Lord Yahweh. And he have given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened, and it is furbished, to give it into the hands of the slayer. The hands of the slayer is Esau, the so-called white man. And I gave you an example of how Esau's going to handle that sword through Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 49th verse on down, man. What happened in ancient Rome, it's going to happen again all over, but on a larger scale, man. The time of Jacob's trouble, pursuant to Revelation 12 and 12, Daniel's 4 and 1, man. Jeremiah 30 and 7. But you people are caught up in this crazy time we living in, man. The holiday, the so-called holidays. Ain't no holiday, man. It's all bullshit. But you just are caught up in that time of mirth, you're gonna pay, man, dearly. It says, Ezekiel 21 verse 12, cry and howl, son of man, for it shall be upon my people. And what you're going to hear in the time of Jacob's trouble, it's a lot of crying and howling, man. In the time of destruction is going to be upon you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You didn't take heed to what the prophets that was out there telling you, because each time the Lord Yahweh destroys a nation or a kingdom, he sends his prophets to warn his people that's within that nation. Because Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and throughout the rest of the tribes, all the tribes been scattered, man, throughout the four corners of the earth. So when destruction is coming upon a nation, the Lord sends his prophets to warn his people within that nation, man, of the destruction that's coming, so they can get right. But now we living in a time whereas Esau have a stronghold upon the minds of you Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, which is that stronghold is that it's this witchcraft, man, through the media. The average Negro, Hispanics, Native American, you're under that spell, man. And that spell is the spell of witchcraft. And the only way that can break that spell is Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, man. If you're part of the elect, like the apostles was going into. But that sword is coming. That sword is coming, man. And that's the fierce anger of the Lord, man. Because the Lord is going to use Esau. Because Esau, the so-called white man, is the Lord's whipping stick, man. Why do you think King David prophesied and asked him and begged the Most High, deliver me from the wicked, which is that sword? He said, cast them down. Arise, O Lord, cast them down. Who? It started with the international bankers and they New World and they New World Order enterprise, man. Slakia. Arise, O Lord, cast them down. Cast down what? Esau, the so-called white man, started with the international bankers and a New World Order enterprise, man. Where they want everybody microchipped. Cast them down. Deliver me from the wicked, which is thy sword. Esau is the sword of the Lord, man. Pursuant to Ezekiel 21 verse 9 on down to 12. And it reads, cry and howl, son of man, for it shall be upon my people. Who people? The Lord's people, which is you Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, which are the biblical Israelites, man. Started with Judah on down to Issachar. It says, it shall be upon all the princes of Israel, terrors by the reason of the sword shall be upon my people. Smite therefore upon the diamond. Terrors by the reason of the sword. When Esau come in with his Gurkha troops, his UN troops, and lock down these cities where you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans dwell, man, it's going to be total chaos in hell, man. total chaos in hell, death, destruction, famine, pestilence. Then when Yahushua cracked them skies, bringing death, destruction, and deliverance, it's only going to get worse, man. Because we're in the time of our deliverance. We're in the time for the 2/3 of you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans is going to die. We're in the time of prophecy. We're in the time of the sword. Jeremiah, before I close it out, Jeremiah, let me get this real quick. Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 1. Dance at the Lord, dance the Lord slacking. I'm kind of excited. I'm kind of reading fast. Let me just slow down. Drink some water. Read Jeremiah 15, verse 1. Then said the Lord Yahweh unto me, which is Jeremiah, though Moses, this is Jeremiah 15, verse 1. Then said the Lord Yahweh unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be towards this people. Because Jake just went totally off, man. This is talking about Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Because the Latin tribes, the northern tribes, is already cast out of the Lord's sight, man, during this time. So now you have Judah, Benjamin, and Levi being more wicked than the wicked, which are Esau and the other nations, man. So it reads, then, this is Jeremiah 15, verse 1. Then said the Lord Yahweh unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be towards this people. Cast them out of my sight and let them go forth. And how we got cast out of the Most High's sight during the time of 70 AD when Jerusalem was besieged by the Romans, man. Then the time of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 49th verse, which was the time when the Romans came to besiege Jerusalem, which was 70 AD. You see? That's how we got cast out of the Most High's sight, man. And scattered up the four corners of the earth. Now, heathens dwell in that land, which was our land. Heathens dwell in that land right now, man. It says, cast them out of my sight and let them go forth. Verse 2. And it shall come to pass, if they shall say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, power of hosts, such as are for death to death, and such as for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, because death and destruction and the sword is coming, man. And famine. All part of the curses. All part of the curses. And to die by the way of famine is a grievous way to go out. Dying by the way of drowning is a grievous way to go out. Dying by the way of fire is a grievous way to go out, man. All plagues of the Lord. And the 2/3 you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, they're going to suffer that shit, man. You're going to go do that. For the same must know it after death by pain. The same must know it after death by pain, man. You can't get around that shit, man. Back in Jeremiah 15, verse 14. Read it. It's like Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 1. I'm gonna start at 2. And it shall come to pass, if they shall if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, power of hosts, such as are for death to death, and such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as for the famine to the famine, and such as for the captivity to the captivity. And those that survive the famine, they're going to be snatched up and get tossed headfirst to a concentration camp, man. This is all prophecy. Whether you were here, whether you were forbear, this is prophecy. Bottom line. Verse 3. Jeremiah 15, verse 3. And I will appoint over them 4 kinds, saith the Lord Yahweh, power of hosts. The sword to slay. Esau is definitely sharpening that sword, because we're in the time where Esau is about to show his horns. Esau being the so-called white man. He's about to show his horns, man. We're in the time of Jacob's trouble. We're in the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble, man. Pursuant to Daniel 12:1, Revelation 12:12, we are in the beginning stages of this. It's only going to increase. It's only going to get worse. It says back in Jeremiah 15, verse 3, and I will appoint over them 4 kinds, saith the Lord Yahweh, the sword to slay, and the dogs to tear, teeth of wild beasts. There be spirits created for vengeance. And a part of them spirits that's created for vengeance is teeth of wild beasts, the dogs to tear. And the fowls of the heaven, and the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. And that's what's going to happen during the time of Jacob's trouble, because you're going to have all kind of bodies laid out. For the slain of the Lord shall be many. Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 33 on down. The slain of the Lord shall be from one end of the earth to the next, man. That means bodies going to be laid out everywhere, man. And that's why the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, is going to have a good meal, man. Death and destruction is coming. There's no way to get around that. Death and destruction is coming. There's no way to get around that, man. You keep thinking everything is a game, man. My last scripture before I close it out, and this is going to be Isaiah chapter 59, verse 19. So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the east, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Because what's going to happen is, started with the apostle Tahar, the apostle Gabar, the apostle Bakar, the apostle Ramlab, the bishops and the elders, but mainly the apostles. They're going to receive spiritual power, man. And that's how the Lord's going to lift up a standard against Esau, man. During that time, when all this hell is breaking loose, the apostles are going to receive spiritual power, and certain different men, but mainly the apostles, man. And that's that standard the Most High is going to lift up against Esau, man. Let me read it again. It says, this is Isaiah chapter 19, chapter 59, verse 19. So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west. Who gonna fear the name of the Lord, man? mainly the 1/3, slacket, the 1/3, the sons of Israel, the 144,000, they're gonna fear the name of the Lord, man. Right now we held captive in the West, man. We're in the Western hemisphere, man. In the Americas. It says, so should they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him, giving his men, giving his servants, giving the apostles spiritual power to destroy these devils, man. Only the elect is going to be secured and saved during the time of Jacob's trouble. And we're approaching some heavy times. We are approaching some heavy times. Shalom.